The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bitten by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing range. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien helped me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey there and welcome to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is André, your podcast host. Big thanks to Uka the Mock for our theme song, Superpowers. And big thanks to you, gentle listener, for tuning in once again to another action-packed, fun-filled show. Today I speak with Lee Ferguson, who is an illustrator working for Marvel, his own independent comic, as we talked about in the episode. He also has worked for DC. He's worked for Boom, IDW, a bunch of projects and a bunch of cool studios, working on a varied history of different books, from Zen the Intergalactic Ninja all the way to Doctor Strange. And he does some really cool work, and he's a pretty amazing artist, I must say. And I was really pleased to have him on the show. He was a fun interview. You know, sometimes, as I mentioned before, some come easy, some come a little harder. It came easy with Lee. It was a really fun chat and a really great conversation. Meanwhile, out here in the real world, I am getting ready, doing work, doing some extra stuff, getting into the season as we're getting to fall, doing a little traveling, doing a little acting here and there when possible, and just doing the work. Like Lee and I talk a good amount on this episode about the gig lifestyle. If you're any kind of a freelancer, you would be familiar with the amount of work it takes to run your own business, the late nights, the early mornings, all that good stuff. And yeah, it's my life. I live a gig life. I have my own business in which I run graphic design, but I also do this podcast as kind of a fun passion project. I do some trivia, I do some acting, wrestling. I'm all over the place. So I'm busy because I'm often doing all these things. However, I did take some time this weekend. Me and my wife, I did a website for a local travel company that picks people up, takes them all around to the local stops. And while reviewing the website, my wife kind of commented that, hey, these are some cool spots. We should go do this sometime. And I thought, yeah, we don't need to rent a service. We can go do it ourselves, get in the car and drive out. So this past weekend, we had a lovely little trip down to the Five Islands area of Nova Scotia. If you haven't been there, I highly suggest it. We visited Ottawa House, which was owned by Charles Tupper, who the Canadians out there may or may not remember as our shortest-termed prime minister. I think he's only 69 days in office, something like that. Also our tallest, or one of our tallest prime ministers, so there's that too. It's pretty cool. The house is kind of done to show you what life was like at that time. The rooms are kind of the same as they would have been back in that era of our history. And yeah, it was a really cool trip. We did that. We visited Parsboro, checked out the local Two Brewing Beer Company, went to the Five Islands Provincial Park, Five Islands Lighthouse, had a nice picnic lunch, visited the Dutchman's Cheese Farm, saw the animals there, got to pet some pigs, check out some animals there, some ostriches, or emus rather, not ostriches, and partridges, and peacocks, and all the cool stuff. So yeah, it was a really, really nice day, really nice getaway. And sometimes in our wackaday, crazy, wackadoodle world we live in, we don't really appreciate the places in which we live. We're always eager to get to other places and see them, and I totally agree with that as well. But, there's nothing wrong with taking a weekend and exploring your area, seeing some of the fun stuff to do there. So check that out. Get out there. Go see what's going on in your own neck of the woods. Also, I started watching a TV show which just sort of showed up in my algorithm called Good Cop, Bad Cop, which is, I've heard someone equate as the new Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I kind of agree. Ooh, that's a yawn. Look, I normally pre-record these sort of intros to eliminate those sort of things, but man, it's late, I'm tired. I got an early call time for a TV show tomorrow. I gotta go do it. I ain't editing it. We're gonna, warts and all, man, you're hearing me on. This is it. It's here. So yeah, Good Cop, Bad Cop. People are calling it the new Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So I checked it out for that reason, because I was a big fan of that show. It's pretty great, I must say. It's really fun, got a great cast, sort of brother and sister cop team. Their dad is Clancy Brown, who's someone I also really appreciate. One of the best voices for Lex Luthor ever. Probably the best in animation. Sorry, Mark Maron. Big fan of your podcast, but Clancy Brown is the man when it comes to Lex Luthor voices. And yeah, great show. Check that out too. But while you're checking out things, why don't you check out this very show? Why don't you tell a friend, tell a loved one, tell a partner, tell them to go listen. Tune in to the other wonderful podcasts on the Swear to Pod network that we are now affiliated with. And yeah, listen to this episode. So here it is with amazing illustrator, really fun conversation. Here's my chat with Lee Ferguson.
No, I'm actually in Florida.
Oh, okay, all the way down.
Yeah. We're originally from Ohio, but we got tired of the winter and headed for a little warmer weather.
Yeah,
So
Florida's beautiful. It's been a while since I've been there, but
yeah, it's funny. You get down here and it's really nice that you look around and you can wear shorts in January and palm trees and whatever. But now I'm getting where I miss the seasons and like we get to October and I really want to go somewhere where the leaves are changing and stuff like that. So
that is true. And I live in Canada. I'm in Nova Scotia. So
right.
yeah, so we do get the seasons in all of their glory, all of them. But I always tell Americans who might not be familiar with where I'm at or other people that like, New York weather is pretty much the same as ours. It's, we're not, I'm on the same coast. We're just a little further up, just past Maine. So,
Right.
but we do get it. And it is nice come like Halloween because I'm a big Halloween person. So it's nice to be
Oh,
able to
same here.
yeah, like see the orange, the black, the pumpkins. It's all very nice.
Yeah.
And I love winter too, right up until Christmas. And then the snow can go away. And it can all be, it can all
Yeah.
can all be.
Now in Ohio, we would have April and we still would get that slushy, nasty stuff that, made you cold all the way into your bones,
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's funny because like people assume Canadian that it's always like that, like because where we are, like usually by April it's getting pretty temperate, like in the middle of Canada in the north, like northern Alberta and like around the center,
Hmm.
is where they get like crazy cold winters, like super cold, and also stuff like that, slushy sort of Aprils, but
Yeah.
usually by late March it's wrapped up where I am,
Yeah.
so thank
Yeah. I would
God.
like to get back up to Canada sometime. It's been a while. So,
Oh, right on. Well, we'll be happy to have you, I'm sure. Where did you grow up? Was it in Ohio? Is that where you?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. What was
Yep.
childhood like there?
Small town. So, you could, ride your bike up to the library as a little kid. And, that's where I started reading comics was the town library.
Oh, beautiful.
So
That's kind of me too, a little bit. So,
yeah.
what did you discover there? Is it like usually it's like Tintin and stuff? Is that the?
This library, it had a lot of the old Alex Raymond, Flash Gordon stuff
Oh,
in
cool.
hardcover, and then it had like Bring On the Bad Guys and Son of Origins of Marvel Comics, and so I grew up in the late '70s, but I was reading all the Kirby and Romita classic stuff, and look, I started with the origins of the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man and all that. So
Mhm.
yeah, that library was great. Lots of fond memories. And every time we go up to visit, I still have to run by that library just to see it.
Oh, that's awesome. The fact it's even
Yeah,
still there is amazing.
yeah, it is. It looks a lot different now, but it's there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
back in the day. There were just books everywhere and bean bags and stuff, and now there's computers all over the place, and it's very much modern now, which
Mhm.
messes with my head a little bit.
It does. Like it always seems like to me that libraries should always be old school. Like they should never,
Right?
like I'm
Yeah.
happy they're modernized and they're cool because believe me, I've actually sort of recently rediscovered my local library because I used to go when I was a kid. Like I grew up in a very small town too, and the libraries where you went to get anything, and you could rent the occasional DVDs and stuff. I remember I watched The Elephant Man that way,
Oh
and
yeah. Yep.
like whatever graphic novels I could get. But I read a lot of like Stephen King books. And but even going by that library now, it's like a town hall or something. It's just an old brick building. They built like a new modernized one. But kind of discovering the new library, now I got a card and I can go into an app and I can get ebooks and audiobooks
Right.
and download movies and just watch it on my PlayStation. Like it's so wildly like updated, which is awesome. But you're right. It does kind
It's
of rob
awesome,
you.
but seems wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it robs you a little of that nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
Like
I think I checked out every Stephen King book at that library back in
Oh
high
yeah,
school. So
100%. Me
yeah.
too. And I remember one day like the lady at the front desk was like, uh, "How old are you?" Because I was like 10. I was like 10, and I was getting up The Shining. I'm like 10. She's like, "Your parents go with you reading this?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "All right, there you go." like this is what dates me. Like I just turned 40 this year, and like a couple weeks ago, and I distinctly remember borrowing The Library Policeman, which is like a Stephen King story
Oh
that was
yeah. Yep.
on cassette tapes, and sitting in the basement with the cassette
Yep.
player listening to the story because I couldn't hear it any other way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. I
all of
remember
this.
that.
Yeah, oh, 100%. That's awesome. Well, like, what did as you discovered comics, were you always drawing? Was you like, this is what I want to do?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean I drove like when I was little before first grade, my mom and I lived with my grandparents. And so her brothers still lived there, my
Hmm.
uncles, and they were big into Spider-Man. So they had
Oh, cool.
piles of like Marvel Tales, that reprinted Amazing Spider-Man stacks all over
Hmm.
the house. And everybody got sick of reading Spider-Man comics to me. So I kind of had to muddle through and figure out how to read on my own just because I couldn't wait to know what was going on until someone was ready to read. And then I'm like, I just started drawing my own Spider-Man comics. And
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I started putting like they had like, now only 35 cents on the cover or something. So I started putting that on my cover and my grandma paid me for them. So it's like
Oh, wow.
I was like 5 years old and making money doing comic books. It was a good deal. So
Wicked.
yeah, I did the thing where you kind of try to figure out like a real career,
Mm.
um, but I really just wanted to do comics.
What did that
That
look like? What was the real career you attempted?
Oh, like graphic design
Okay.
or I actually majored when I finally declared a major in college, it was journalism. Just because it was like, well, I can write, I can make money writing and that kind of, but I hated it. I
Hmm.
just really hated it. I didn't want to like go and report on a football game or whatever. I wanted to
Mm.
make some stuff up.
Yeah.
So and tell stories.
Yeah, like why the real world is hard to to compete with, monsters and gods and
Yeah.
demons and
Yeah.
robots and aliens and all that wonderful stuff. So
Got nothing on Stephen King.
that's right, that's right. I want to hear about the real life horrors. I want to read about,
Yeah.
otherworldly
Yeah.
existential Cthulhu like horrors.
Yeah,
That's what I want
please
to.
give me the escapism. Sometimes
Yeah.
Cthulhu doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, yeah, I could get behind the Cthulhu, society. I feel like we're all just
Yes, yeah,
sort of going mad
definitely.
and having orgies. It doesn't sound so bad. Again, based on the
Yeah.
modern thing. Well, what I guess chugging along. So, I mean, you mentioned you lived with your mom and your grandmother. I'm assuming your father wasn't part of the picture.
My mom and dad divorced when
Wow.
I was like a year old.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I always went and visited my dad and stuff. I just lived with my mom and my grandparents and all until first
Ah,
grade. And then my mom got remarried. So then I lived with her and my stepdad till middle of high school. So yeah, but my parents were always there,
oh, that's good. Okay.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was like a young child pursuing a career, and I guess placating them probably with journalism was probably okay as far as
Yeah.
I always find often when you're like, well, your parents cool with you, jumping into a career in comics, and everyone's like, rarely are they like, yeah, they were super supportive. It's like,
Yeah.
no, they
No,
wanted me
it's
to be a
always,
doctor or a lawyer or something.
right. Yeah, it's like that's fine, but make sure you have a backup plan.
Yeah,
Be able to teach or, journalism or whatever. And you're like, okay, but you know,
yeah.
you got to do it sometimes. Like you try the other things out, but it just keeps calling to you, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's it too. Like, and I have mad respect for the people that actually like answer the call and jump at it because it's not an easy life getting started in the arts,
No,
in most type of art, right? Like
right.
comics, like acting, anything really. Like if music, like there's no easy path.
No,
Um,
no. And
so
even after you've been doing it a while, like, freelancing's stressful,
oh yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned graphic design. That's what I do day to day.
Yeah.
I just do little indie comics here and there, but
Hmm.
yeah. So you're right. I do work for myself. It's not an easy path either. You're often sort of peaks and valleys. I describe it.
Yeah.
The peaks are
Yeah.
nice. The valleys not so much. But hey, that's all kind of part of it. But I once heard somebody say that when an entrepreneur works 80 hours a week, so they don't have to work 40 for somebody else, which I always thought was like
That's perfect.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of amazing. But awesome. Well, what was the first produced comic?
Um, well, aside from the stuff, that I drew and
Hmm.
stapled and sold to my grandmother,
Of course, yes. I'm
um,
waiting for the omnibus of that, by the way, when that comes
yeah,
out. I want to
yeah.
grab one.
It's funny when she passed away, apparently she kept everything I had ever drawn through
Aw.
like the age of 5 through college in his portfolio. My granddad gave that back to me then after she passed away.
Oh, that's so
So
sweet.
yeah, it's pretty wild to look back and see those comics, from all those years ago. And
Do they
yeah,
hold up? Are they still good?
oh, they're terrible. But by God, I was having fun.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, but
Uh,
first published comic was a small black and white book in the late 90s. God, what was it called? Oh, Stranger Than Fiction.
oh, really? Okay. Who was that
Yeah.
through?
Um, I think it was Impact Comics, it was called at the time. I think that's the only thing they ever published for like 3 or 4 issues of that.
Wow.
And it's not worth looking for my art, trust me. But it was a good learning experience, but the work is just terrible. So
What was
uh,
how did that come about? Like, how did you get that?
I saw an ad in, wow, I don't know, one of the comic shop magazines back in the day, I guess.
Ah,
I
I
don't.
miss those magazines.
Oh,
What a
me
great era.
too. Yeah. Yep. I can't think of what it was, but I just sent some samples in and heard back. And I mean, there was a page rate and everything with it. So, I got paid to learn some stuff. It was nice.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I said, the work is not good,
Oh, hey,
but
no, but hey, it's got your foot in the door, right? I mean,
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know
You got to
who.
get the bad pages out before you can get to some good ones.
Yeah,
So,
and like that's I think it was Warren Ellis or something. I remember reading on his he did some tips on writing and he was like he's like right, just keep doing it. He's like
mhm.
the first one's gonna suck. The first few might suck. But
Yep.
eventually you'll find, you'll hit your stride and you'll find your voice and you'll be chugging along. And
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like for most artistic endeavors it's kind of the same thing. Like you need
Oh
to.
yeah, I don't think anybody ever jumps out fully formed or even really good right out. We might become aware of them when they're good, but they've still got a lot of lousy drawings or a lot of lousy scripts around somewhere that they didn't show.
Yeah, like you can go back and read like this weird stuff that Alan Moore did for like 2000 AD, and I wouldn't call
Mhm.
it a genius. It's okay,
No.
but
Nope.
I wouldn't say it's like the would top the other stuff he's done later in his career when he sort of, was getting his making his bones or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's very cool. Awesome. Well, you have quite a varied uh career here in comics, just looking through all the work and the other stuff throughout the years, which is really cool. You've worked on a lot of varied projects.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I have to ask you, just as a Canadian, this was like a show that was prominent in my on my television when I was growing up was Mutant X, which I noticed you worked on one of
Yeah.
the comic guy. What was that like? What was
That was my first that was the first thing Marvel hired me to do. I think I had some things like the 9/11 charity book came out before that, and I did like a
okay?
couple Millennial Visions pinups that came out around that time. But Mutant X was actually the job they called and offered me. I was really grateful for the job, but it was. I mean,
It wasn't a great
they
show. It wasn't.
no, and
No.
and Bill Gemmis hated the show. Apparently,
Really?
yeah, and I had like these like they were almost like bootlegs, VHS tapes, so I could get some reference for it. But I was already halfway done drawing the first issue before I got those. So then you're kind of going back and trying to erase and change things, to match up as best you can.
Mm.
But yeah, and it was a weird process because like I would get a page or two of script at a time, and then not have any script for a few days and now with some experience, I can work that way. But for your first job, you're kind of trying to figure it all out, and that's a tough way to get started.
Especially
Where
for Marvel. Like Marvel,
yeah,
Marvel comes calling and you're like, "Oh my God,
yeah,
I'm finally in a Marvel. You got my career started with Marvel." And then it's like, here's this like, bottom of the barrel
yeah,
X-Men ripoff property that somehow Marvel is also doing the comic of. Like it's
yeah.
I always thought it was like a kind of a just a direct ripoff. So the fact that Marvel actually did the comics was I thought was pretty interesting. It must have been
Yeah.
some.
It was, the funny thing is the editors on that were Mike Martz and Mike Raitt, and they're great. Like I still keep up with both of those guys to this day.
Nice.
So Tishman, him and I keep up too. So the people I met on that book way back in 2001, I still keep up with. I consider them friends,
Mhm.
but man, the book, like it actually got canceled before I think right after I finished drawing the first issue, because it was supposed to be a monthly series. And they canceled the series just as I was starting to pencil like the first pages of issue 2. So like, it's your first Marvel work. You think it's a monthly book, and it's terrible. And then the second issue is canceled before you've even gotten like 3 pages done with it.
Wow.
So yeah,
Welcome to
that was
comics. Welcome to the big
yeah.
leagues, kid.
Yeah, that's what Joe Quesada said is, he said, welcome to the wacky world of publishing. And I'm like, yeah, whew, that's
Wow.
rough on the old ego right out of the gate.
I love that Joe Quesada like hits you on the shoulder with that. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
buck up, kid. It'll get better. Wow. What was that? Well, what was I guess, how did the Marvel, that was the first book for Marvel, or you mentioned you did the 9/11 Heroes book.
Mhm.
Um, how did that come about? Is it just a matter of finding someone to present your portfolio to,
Yeah,
or
I had actually been showing samples to Joe and Jimmy Palmiotti when they
nice?
were at Event Comics. And so then next thing you know, they're doing the Marvel Knights thing, and then Joe's editor in chief. So he told me to come to New York and meet some editors and show my portfolio around. And so I got to go. It was like March of '01, I guess. I went and got to sit with Axel, and he went through pages with me and showed me why, this didn't work and that didn't work, and this actually wasn't terrible over here. And, you learn a lot sitting with the guys.
Yeah.
Joe sat down and put tracing paper over my page and showed me, so many ways the pages could be better.
Wow.
I met a ton of editors, and the only editor I didn't meet there because he was out of the office that day was Mike Martz. But like a month later, then Martz is the one who called and offered me the Mutant X book.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I don't know what that says about my interpersonal
We
skills, but
got this great kid. We need him for Mutant X. Get him in here.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they were just dying to drop that book on anybody,
that's
probably.
true. Yeah, I wonder how that works. I mean, you would probably have a bit of insight into that, but when it comes to the editorial process, like I guess there are certain people. I suppose it depends on your level of how high you are in the industry. Like if someone comes to you with a project and says, "We want you to do this," and you to be able to say no, I imagine like a few probably can't or
Oh,
won't. But
yeah, I mean, it's tough, because like you said earlier, the peaks and the valleys, you
yeah,
can say no, and then like a month later, you're like, "Wow, I wish I'd really taken that terrible job,"
hmm,
I mean, because it's better than no job. And then there's other times you're like, how can I squeeze in 100 hours this week? So,
yeah,
it's really that's the thing I still struggle with the most is balancing a schedule. I'm always either way too busy or not busy enough.
hmm.
It never fails. It's one or the other all the time. So
Yeah, it's rare you can actually like relegate into like a regulated rather into like a proper 9 to 5 job, which is like
yeah,
part of the joy is you don't need to, but also sometimes you're like working at like midnight because you need to get this thing done.
yeah,
So I sort of envy those folks who go to an office and that's it. And I guess comics used to be that way. You go to the bullpen or
yeah.
whatever and sit there at your desk and draw away. I sort of romanticize. I've talked about it before. Those sort of those comic world people were like Kirby's just like chomping on a cigar, working at a desk somewhere with those. I always picture those little bands you wear around your biceps when you wear those
Oh
shirts.
yeah.
Little green visor, just
Yep.
yeah, like a little lamp. So in the hours, but sometimes when you talk to folks that work in a studio system, like they're part of like Raid Studios or one of those guys, I've talked to some of those folks. They kind of have a bit of that. Like it's cool that they're all sort of share the space and are keeping
hmm
each other going. But yeah, like when you're just at home chugging away, it can be grind.
Oh yeah, there's times I would love to have a studio environment, just to keep your energy up and
Mm,
creatively bouncing things back and forth and seeing what the other creators in there are doing. Get some feedback on your stuff like immediately, stuff like
hmm.
that. It would be nice, but by the same token, it's nice to get up and get yourself a cup of coffee and head to your desk, and
Yeah.
you don't have to get in the car and go anywhere or whatever. So
Yeah, and you need an appointment or you want to go to the gym or something, like you can go break away in the middle of the day and do that. It doesn't need to be,
right, right,
you know. Oh, cool. Well, what was like, because I noticed that you did work on one of the Marvel Knights books, this Millennial Visions thing. Was
yeah.
this just sort of an intro to the Marvel Knights thing in
Yeah,
total.
yeah, they were kind of a thing where I guess you were kind of giving an alternate take, maybe like a what if take on the characters, and
Hmm.
so sometimes I guess a writer would write it, and then the artist would come in and do it. But I think most of them it was a one creator writing and drawing like their vision of what was going on. It was a fun thing to do.
Hmm.
Again, it's so old. I look at the drawings, I'm like, oh man, I could have done that hand better, and that face is terrible. But it was a fun thing to kind of sit there and chew through and think about, what you'd like to do with these characters if you didn't have to worry about continuity or anything like that, and just wanted to tell a cool story with them. So
Yeah, well, you look at the other folks, working in that. Like the book itself is Bradstreet and Reeve
mhm.
and Robertson and Williams, J.H. Williams. Like it's just like a who's who of like pretty up and coming talent that like obviously all gone, yourself included, of course, and onto bigger and better things. So, but that
Yeah.
was like as a kid growing up with that, I remember the Marvel Knights line always seemed so interesting to me because it was sort of like skirting this. It wasn't quite into the like the Vertigo super dark, but it wasn't into the regular stuff. Like I remember I followed the Punisher comic pretty closely when that was Ennis started taking over doing that, and then the
Oh yeah. Yep.
yeah, I think they put out these magazines that included like 3 or 4 issues of different comics that were under it, and I used to get those.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe it was a Canadian thing, I don't know, but they came out in the local comic stores. So yeah, the Punisher and the uh the Black Widow and the other one that was in there was yeah, it was a cool series. It seemed pretty unique, so it must have been interesting to be kind of a part of that as it was at least started kicking off and doing its own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So I mean, I have to ask about Zen, the Intergalactic Ninja. I see you have that on your work as well, which is
Oh yeah.
which,
Yeah.
which I don't know why, but as a kid, I was always drawn to that character. Like I might have had like 3 comics that I found in a used bin somewhere, but I just for some reason I just latched onto it. I don't know if it was the ninja, it was his design or what, but there's something about it that I always stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think certain people were just wired to know that ninjas are cool. So,
Yeah, yeah,
that
I
helps right
guess that's
there.
me.
Yeah, same.
Well, especially intergalactic ones. So.
Yes, yeah, definitely. But yeah, that was fun. We got, Joe Casey wrote it, and it never went any farther, at least with me involved with it. But, the zero issue, or was it zero? I think it was
Yep.
just like a zero issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
But yeah, like because to talk to folks that work in comics and like this is why I'm kind of well, I'm always interested to talk to people that are involved in any way. But yourself, like you have such a varied, a lot of people like work on one book for a really long time, or they have this sort of style and they're always doing these sort of superhero books. But like you sort of run through the gamut. There's like Zen, there's Vampirella, there's Turok, there's Sheena, like all these other characters outside of comics that are connected, but then of course mixed in with the regular superhero stuff. So, do you have like a certain style you like? Like, is there a particular genre you prefer to draw? Like, is a period piece like Turok or a horror thing skirting
I,
like
I
Vampirella?
I lean a little more towards horror.
Okay,
Like Doctor Strange was very much in my wheelhouse too.
nice.
Yeah, so like Doctor Strange, I would love to do like Werewolf by Night or
Hmm.
Swamp Thing, Man Thing, and I definitely lean that direction with my own sensibilities. So yeah, Doctor Strange, it felt like I'd been drawing him for a long time, even though it was the first time I ever drew him.
Hmm.
So I think those kind of characters I definitely gravitate towards. I'm also a huge Spider-Man fan. I would love to draw Spider-Man someday. It
Yeah,
seems like
yeah.
I've bounced around and covered a lot of characters, but I've never gotten a crack at Spidey. So, but
Oh,
there's a lot of guys that say that, of course. So, there's a line.
well, it must have been fun working on the Predator Black Panther book because that always like Predator's sort of I don't know. I always have this conversation with people about like horror versus sci-fi horror versus sci-fi. The idea
Hmm.
that like I always say to people, what is Aliens? Like, would you call I'd say Alien is a horror movie. I'd say Aliens is a sci-fi movie. Like
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
yeah, like where does the line become? It's weird that like if you throw any kind of science element, any kind of futuristic science fiction element to it, it just becomes sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Event Horizon is a movie I really like, but and that
Hmm.
thing's it's a pretty horrific movie, but it takes place in the future in space. So is it it's a sci-fi movie first? It's just always kind of strange that way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would call Event Horizon horror also, and
Yeah, I do.
Alien is a horror movie, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and Predator and Black Panther was fine. I kept jumping in to fill in on that,
Hmm.
so I never got to really ramp up and like do prep work for it.
Hmm.
It's always more fun when you get a little time to warm up and get into the character versus, hey, can you do 10 pages and we need them by this date? Thanks, bye. So Predator and Black Panther was a little bit more on that end of it. And
Hmm.
I actually had a really it was my first time I caught COVID was during the
Oh
second
shit.
issue of that. Yeah, I'd managed to dodge it, and I'd had the vaccines and stuff, but
Hmm.
it still hit me really hard on that second issue. I was dragging myself to my desk each day to get those pages out.
Oh yeah, I'm convinced I had it when it started. Like I know they'd
Mm.
say it wasn't like in our area in like 2020, but I took an airplane to visit a friend. A friend of mine was having a 50th birthday party, so a
Mhm.
bunch of us were going to surprise him, and I took a flight that morning to Montreal, and I was so sick. Like I don't think I've ever felt this sick in my life. And I remember getting on the plane, going to Montreal, and then like going to drop my stuff off at the hotel and go to get something to eat. And I couldn't taste anything at the time, which I know now.
Oh,
And I was like, well, man,
yeah,
I'm so sick. I'm so stuffed up. I can't even taste this because we didn't even know that was a symptom. We didn't like at this
right.
time before everything shut down. We had no clue. So
Hmm.
I'm pretty convinced I had it then, but you couldn't take a test or anything, so there's no way of knowing.
Yeah, no, that I'd say that that sounds pretty likely though. Yeah,
Yeah, but I was wrecked. Like I remember feeling like garbage the entire time I was there.
yeah,
Well, it must have been fun. I a few things I want to talk to you about, but I noticed like working on a Halloween book must have been a hoot if you're a horror person.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was a fun one. I feel like it was man, I don't remember now. I know it was a short story. I'm not sure how short, but
Hmm.
yeah, like I honestly think that Halloween was one of the very first horror movies I ever watched.
Nice,
So it was
nice.
kind of cool to circle back to, Michael Myers again there like that. So yeah.
It's funny, like people like it's interesting you're into horror because I too am also a big horror hound, I guess. And it's fun the sensibilities of it. Like people just like it regardless. Like I was leaving the gym today and there's a guy that had like a scream face, like decal on the hood of his car, and I remember thinking like that's quite a statement. Like
Yeah.
it's
That's
like
commitment right there.
yeah, I mean those movies are fun. Do I love it so much that I need to put it on my car? I don't know. But it's just like it seems like slasher fans are just like it doesn't matter what the movie is because a lot of them are terrible. But
Oh
as long
yeah,
as
yeah.
someone's slashing up teenagers, it's good.
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
It's funny. I tell my son all the time. I'm like, I do have kind of a bad rating because I'll recognize it's a bad horror movie, but
mhm.
I'll still kind of hang out and watch a horror movie. Like I
Oh,
just
me too,
sure, let's
100%.
go. Yeah.
My wife and I watched one last night, or a movie a couple nights ago, and it was this newer movie called Freaky Tales, which I said it's not really a horror movie, but it was really cool.
Oh, it's
But
in my yeah. I've got that in my watch list
it's
actually
it's
to
it's
see.
quite
Yeah.
cool. I really enjoyed it.
Is it good?
Yeah, I
Good.
didn't realize it was the same directors of Captain Marvel, the first one, but
Oh,
it
I didn't know
yeah.
that either.
But you
Oh.
wouldn't, I like that movie fine, but this one is
Mhm.
it's definitely throwback to like 80s filmmaking, and if you have nostalgia for like video stores and 80s
Oh
type
yeah.
movies, it'll definitely be for you, which I do as well. But there's before that I was just going through my Prime queue, and there was a film on there like a new as a new moon, full moon pictures, so like Charles Band's crazy like low budget horror movies, and it was just this
Mhm.
ridiculous like rich people that go to some party, but there's like a girl band that's performing, and then there's like puppets and like stop motion animation monsters coming out of the woodwork and like blood everywhere, and there's like a guy wearing a clown, like the butler's dressed as a clown, and it seems so ridiculous. I couldn't help but be added to my queue and be like,
Oh
I
yeah.
must watch
Yeah.
this at some point.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it sounds terrible, and I would almost certainly check it out.
Yeah.
So,
But isn't that like maybe that's the joy of being the horror fan, and maybe you can comment on this too. But if you like when you find that gold, like this looks like it
mm,
might suck, but then when you are impressed by it, or there's some stuff in it that really connects with you, like I watched, was it Castle Freak, the original one,
mm,
which is one of those full moon pictures. It's Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, and it's like a castle and somewhere, but it was actually a surprisingly good movie. And I remember like finding those gems. I feel like it's almost like gambling in a way that it hits that
Yeah.
oxytocin thing in your brain. You're like, well, it didn't come up this time, but hey, look, next time I'll find that gold.
Yeah.
And when you do, it just seems like you won something.
That very much fits, definitely.
Do you have a favorite? Is there like what if you could pick a favorite horror film?
Oh wow, I don't know. You know how it is. Once we're done talking, I'll think of like five or six that I could
Oh,
name. But right now, gosh, I don't know.
yeah. My go-to is usually the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that one. A really long time.
It
Yeah,
just
I
it's just atmospheric enough. It makes you feel like there's a layer of grime on you the second you start watching it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it's so seedy and it does such a good job of, I don't know, making you sit in this sort of gross discomfort. I know, like
yeah,
it's funny because a horror movie can describe a movie, like a horror fan can describe a movie that way, and it's a positive thing. You know?
yeah. But you're setting that time and place.
That is
So
true.
that's a big part of it.
Yeah, The Thing is high on my list too. So those
Yeah,
are
that's a great one. Yeah, yeah,
those
and
are pretty much near the top.
yeah. Nope. That the thing I've seen more recently again, and that's a good one. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, but anything by Carpenter, of I'm
Hmm.
I'm on board for. Awesome. Well, like just looking through some of the stuff, well, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the Predator Black Panther book that like you just kind of got called in to finish up some pages. Is
Hmm.
how often does that happen? I feel like they don't obviously aren't forthcoming with if there's issues with production with whatever reason. And, they just get fill-in artists or colors or whatever they need if the guy can't get the job done in time. So, like, is it as frequent as that? Like, does it happen often to you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
At least the last couple years, it's been probably the last couple years. Yeah, I mean, three. I did three of the four issues of Predator versus Black Panther, and just bits of pages here and there because of that. Um,
Wow.
I just did some Runaways pages a couple weeks ago that
Hmm.
they they touched base on Monday, and the book had to go to print the following Monday.
Oh God.
So yeah, that was a rough week. So I honestly think I don't know. I'm not sure how it gets to that point, I guess, is what, what I'll
That's what
say.
I wonder about. Like, and I don't want to put anyone on the spot or anything. I'm not trying to do that, but I just mean like the idea that like, is it just deadlines are too stringent? Is it just I don't know? Because it seems odd if it's that frequent. That just like what's the point? Like what's the holdup? I guess. But
Yeah, when Marvel, like with the issue of Blade I did, and the giant size X-Men, they gave me 6 weeks
mhm.
to do 20 pages. And at least for me, I can pencil and ink 20 pages in 6 weeks without a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I'd say.
I can still have a life and stuff.
Hmm.
So I don't know if like maybe for some of these other projects, like the script takes a little while to get through or get approved, or if the artist, has something going on.
Mm, yeah,
I truly don't know. I just know, to me, 6 weeks is plenty of time to draw a book.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I don't want to like badmouth anybody for not getting their
No,
work
no,
done or
yeah,
anything. It's
yeah.
just I don't really know what's going on to where this happens like it does.
Well, that and people like yourself, I'm sure, are known to be able to meet those deadlines. So you're probably the ones that get called when they need somebody,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's kind of a catch-22 because like I instead of filling in, to catch up somebody else's project, I'd rather just start the project and have the 6 weeks to draw the book.
Yeah, and do it
That
right from the beginning.
Yeah, that'd be my preference, versus coming in at the last minute and trying to get the thing over the finish line. So
Yeah. What
yeah,
is like? Is there an impetus on you to have to try to ape the artist that you're doing the paging
I've
for?
never been asked to. No.
Really? Okay, I always wondered that.
Yeah. Nope. I do think sometimes they want to get somebody stylistically who will not be too jarring.
Hmm.
But I think their
Yeah.
desperation matters too, to where if they're far enough behind, they're just like, "Can you draw these pages? Great, that's awesome. Yeah, do whatever you want with them."
Although
So
it'd be kind of interesting to see that, like if it was like, Mark Bagley drew like six pages and then it's like a Bill Sienkiewicz page or something,
yeah,
like just something so wildly different.
yeah,
It,
yeah.
it would be interesting. You know, you'd have to. It's almost like you'd have to stylistically change the format of the book so that those pages would be
Oh
a
yeah.
dream or
Yeah.
something. You know, something that makes it work in a way that.
And a
But
lot of times they will try to separate like by scenes. So
mm,
like they'll make sure that the original artist has like all the scenes with these characters in this place, and I'll take over like these characters in that place.
mm,
Which when it's a team book like The Runaways or something like that, it's easier to mix and match like that to where you're not jumping with how Wolverine looks from pages 1 through 3 to 4 through 6. But
yeah, I guess I never thought about that, but it makes sense. It's almost cinematic, right? It's like if you had
yeah,
someone directing another scene in a film.
yeah,
You know, to
yeah.
have them direct halfway through a scene, which would be very
Yeah,
strange and
yeah,
jarring.
yeah.
Interesting.
And
Awesome.
when I was, less experienced, I would try to like push in the style of whoever
Hmm.
the original artist was, just because I felt like that's what you were supposed to do. But now more so, I'm like, I just want these pages to look good, and you give me the script, I'll do what I think works best, and you know,
Mm.
hopefully it matches up well enough in the end, But
Wow, that's crazy. Um, and working on books like the ones that you've worked on, like the Shield book
Mhm.
or Halloween, for instance, View Next, those sort of things where you're sort of adapting you have to draw existing people.
Yeah.
Um, do you run into a lot of issues with that? Like in the way that I know I've told the story a couple times, but if you in one of the episodes, I had the guy tell it, but he had a friend who worked on, I think it was the X-Files book, like the comic at the time.
Mm.
And I remember he said that his friend got fired because he had to draw the X-Files characters, so Mulder and Scully, but they couldn't look like David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson because of, the licensing they had set up,
Yeah.
the likeness rights. So you have to make them look like them enough, but not enough that it's too much. And then he got fired because Gillian Anderson's team didn't think that the version of Gillian Anderson that couldn't look like Gillian Anderson was attractive enough to represent Gillian Anderson. So like I just feel like it was like this insane sort of
Yeah.
circular argument that's sort of like, do you run into issues with that, having to kind of adapt the likenesses of people?
I haven't with when I did the Shield thing, I think the only thing they said was, Coulson needs to look like Coulson, but not a direct likeness. And it's
Okay.
like, well, you just make sure to get the hairline right and the jawline right, and you're pretty much there.
Hmm.
The Halloween thing, it was just, I think Michael Myers is only in maybe a couple shots in that.
Hmm.
And the way the story was set up is it was kind of a nod to all of that. So that was leaning more towards the photo reference, making sure you had it on model, I guess,
Hmm.
there. Um, but yeah, I haven't really had a lot of likeness stuff to deal with. I did actually did a tryout for Ghostbusters at IDW way back.
Oh, and the
And
Burnham one or Burnham one, the Eric Burnham one, those ones.
I'm not sure. This would have been, I want to say, '07 or '08.
I feel like that's when
Um,
it was because they're all been drawn by that guy that seems to draw everything for the for IDW's.
oh,
Um, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So I had to draw the original Ghostbusters, and I was stressed, because I don't feel like likenesses is my thing, but I kind of hit this nice cartoony but still recognizable area with them, I felt.
Hmm.
And I turned it in, and I was waiting to hear back, and I got offered another job instead. And I said yes to that job, and an hour later, Chris Ryle said, "Hey, you got the Ghostbusters thing," and I ended up having to pass on the Ghostbusters because I
Oh
couldn't take
no.
on. Yeah, it killed me because the Ghostbusters would have been a lot better than the job I ended up doing. So
Uh,
it killed me.
that's tragic.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Yeah, there's a guy that did it. He did like it seems like I every time IDW had some kind of anything to do with the Ghostbusters, they generally use this one artist. I can't remember. I want to say it's Dan Schuning, maybe.
oh,
Or
okay, yeah,
Shonen. Yeah, I
yeah. I know
can't.
his stuff. Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like
He's
it was
good.
him.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah, I think that was it. I know Eric Burnham seems to write them all, like it,
Yeah,
but yeah, wow. Well, it's kind of must have been interesting full circle coming back to work on a Flash Gordon comic, being that Flash Gordon was an early influence for you.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. That was definitely a highlight, was getting that job, because I a lot of times, like you've said, I'm kind of all over the place, and it's
Hmm.
because I just I hear from people and I'm like, oh, hey, that sounds cool. But Flash Gordon, I really went after that when I knew there was an opening. I chased that one down, and so I think I got the email at like 11:30 at night to say that I'd gotten that series. And my wife, my poor wife, she was crashed out in bed. It's like a Saturday night, and I'm waking her up like, hey, check out this email. But she knew how important Flash Gordon was to me, so she didn't hold a grudge at least. But
Does she have any affinity for this sort of stuff? Like, is she a comic fan? Or?
she wasn't when we got together, but
Mhm.
she's gotten to where she reads some stuff now.
Nice.
She reads a lot of Terry Moore stuff. She read like all of Rachel Rising in like 3 days or
Really?
something. Like
Wow.
she just blew through that series. I'm not even done with it, and she started after me and zoomed right past me on that. So
Wow.
yeah, she reads a lot, and she definitely, when she finds her thing she likes in comics, she'll get into it then. So
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've had those omnibus of Strangers in Paradise sitting by my in my read pile forever. I got to get to those.
yeah,
There's a few things there that my read pile is. I fear one day they'll just find me buried under a bookshelf that collapsed and kill me, and
yeah.
that'll be. It seemed like a fitting end. Just killed by the books I never read.
Yep. Yeah, I have all these bookcases around, and then I have one chair in my office that my wife will come in if I'm stuck at my desk late for deadlines or something. She'll come in and hang out in the chair and read or whatever. Well, right now, this chair, she can't possibly sit in it because there are way too many books in there. And I have no place to put them. Like all my bookcases are full, and I just did like a purge like six
Oh,
months ago to get rid of some books, and gave some books away and whatever, trying to clear some space. But then, you see this next omnibus is out there and you're like, oh, well, I mean, I
yeah.
need that, right? So,
Yep. I brought a bunch of comics into the comic store in Halifax and they gave me like credit and I was like, well, what am I going to spend this on? And they had these like those massive, they look like a phone book editions of like the G.I. Joe and the
oh,
Transformers
yeah.
comics.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I had the G.I. Joe one already and the Transformers one was sitting there and I was like, God damn it. All right. I'll take it.
Yep.
They're so big. Like those omnibus are beautiful, but you have to like sit at a table to read
Oh,
them. It's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
this.
Like I tried to sit on the couch with the things and my legs go numb?
Yeah, you can't like lay on your side and read them. You need to
No,
be at a desk.
no,
That's crazy. Well, I wanted to
no.
ask you too about so you worked on and once again, fill me in if any of these are wrong. I'm just kind of going off what I find online, but All You Need Is Kill, that comic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So was that before the movie adaptation?
Yeah. It was, I think what it was, if I remember right, is Viz had the rights to the novel.
Hmm.
And so then the movie was in the works, and Viz wanted to capitalize on that. So they decided to do an adaptation of the novel because they didn't have the rights to the adaptation of the movie,
Hmm.
but they wanted something like a graphic novel out there based on the novel. So Joel Enos got in touch there and asked me if I wanted to do that. And I'm like, I have no idea what this is. So he sent me the book and I read that. It's wild. It's a ton of fun, you
Hmm.
know. So yeah, that was a fun project. I really liked doing that one. There was talk of doing a sequel, but it never happened then. So
If I recall correctly, I think there's talk of a sequel movie coming out.
yeah, you keep hearing rumblings about it every once in a while. So
It's weird because that movie is like it's an interesting movie because it had like two titles and they kind
mhm.
of ran it through one way and then ran it through another, hoping it would pick up more. But I think like it's kind of a modern day cult classic, I guess. It sort of certainly became one beyond. I don't think it was super like massive in the box office, but I guess enough
No,
that
I don't think so. Yeah.
sequels in the works.
I think it had like that speed raceritis or something, where like nobody paid attention while it was in the theater, and then later everybody's like, "Speed Racer was good, right?"
Am I
And
wrong?
I
Yeah, I feel crazy. I'm like, am I wrong in saying that was a fun movie? Like that was a
oh
great
God, I
movie.
love Speed Racer.
I
Yeah, I
know.
can watch anytime that's on. I can just drop everything and watch Speed Racer. Yep,
I
absolutely.
100% agree that I don't know, it's like a living comic book. That's kind of
Hmm.
like I often have said of the new Fantastic Four movie and of the new Superman movie, it feels like we've kind of gotten to a point where we're stopping apologizing for making superhero movies. Like it feels like
Yeah.
they got to try to make them cool and not comics, and it's like they've stopped apologizing for the fact they're comics and embracing it. And it's
Yep.
like, yes, like that's what we should have been doing from the start, but I'm glad we're finally here.
Yeah.
And Speed
Yep. I
Racer felt
agree.
like that too. It's like we're not apologizing for it being a goofy anime. It's like it was and it is. And
Yep.
we need an Astro Boy movie like that. Like let's bring that
Oh
out.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess we kind of got that. Did you watch um, that show on Netflix, the one based on Pluto?
No.
Ah, I highly suggest it. It's the same. I think it was the same guy that did the comics. Did this sort of more adult. There's like a storyline in the Astro Boy series that they sort of spread it out into a like its own graphic novel over a certain amount of
Hmm.
pages, and then they adapted it into a show on Netflix. But
Oh.
it's excellent. It's kind of like great sci-fi, futuristic kind of robots coexisting with humans kind of thing.
Now I'll look for, I mean, one of my superpowers is to just keep adding things to my Netflix
Yeah, yeah,
watch
yeah.
list. It gets just longer and longer and longer all the
Oh God, I hear
time.
that. I hear
Yeah.
that. I kind of thought that I should adopt like a personal, sort of way of living in which the second someone tells me to watch a movie, that's the next movie I watch, regardless of
Yeah.
whatever I have. Like
Yeah.
just that way, like just say, okay, this is off the queue now, and then like there isn't a queue anymore. Just like, the second. I used to do that with like I'd ask them what their favorite movie was, and if I hadn't seen it, I'll go watch it. And I've seen some cool ones that way. Seen some
Oh yeah, I
classics I
bet.
never got around to. But also saw some really fucking terrible movies. Somebody's like, "This is my favorite movie when I was a kid," and I'm like, "All right," and I go watch it. Like, this is a terrible movie.
You kind of
Uh,
look at them side eyes after that, right?
well,
Like,
yeah, the biggest
I
one
don't
was
know.
Drop Dead Fred. Someone told me, and I'd never seen that as a kid, so I watched it as like a jaded adult, and it's not a good movie.
Yeah, I vaguely remember watching at least part of that, and then I
Well,
think I went and did something else. So,
yeah, Phoebe Cates could even save it for me, and I liked it.
yeah.
But that and The Goonies, and I never watched The Goonies as a kid. I know a lot of people
Oh,
have a lot of nostalgia for it, but oh,
oh yeah,
it's not a good
yeah.
movie. Well, another thing I wanted to ask you once again, just going through some of your the work you've done, and once again, time in. So you're credited at least on this site. I think it's League of Comic Geeks. I was working on one of the Eagle Moss collections. Is that
On
true?
what?
Eagle Moss? They're like these DC Comics graphic novel collections.
Hmm.
Not sure why.
Yeah, I can't think of what that would be.
Okay, well, like it was, I think Eagle Moss is like a company that makes models, but they started putting out these hardcover collections of old comic book stories.
Hmm.
Like they like I don't know, the death of Superman would be one, and it just but I think they were for the UK market.
Oh.
So recently they've kind of a lot of them have kind of circled into some of the dollar stores here where they've been I don't know if they bought out a company or something where they've been reselling all these trades for like $5, these big hardcover trades. So it's like been
Hmm.
a pretty cool run out this way of them. But maybe it's just a miscredit. But I remember looking at that thinking I was curious. It's a new Teen Titans story from like way back when, which is why,
Oh
yeah.
no.
Okay, no worries.
I wish I had drawn some new Teen Titans, but no, I have not.
Well,
So.
that's yeah. What like you mentioned Spider-Man, but there are other projects you would like dream projects you'd like to work on
Oh
if you have to come
man, I
around.
love Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. I
Oh
just all
wow,
the new gods, like new gods. I could work on that forever, honestly. Yeah. So,
yeah. I feel like they're due. Like
hmm
I guess that Mr. Miracle Tom King thing got a lot of attention, but
yeah, yeah.
um,
And
uh,
I'm reading the current series has. I'm only 3 issues in, but it's been really good. It's just a 12 issue miniseries too, I think.
really. That's what
But
kind
yeah,
of
it
I find interesting
seems
about
like it
modern
should be huge.
comics. They don't just do like it's all miniseries now.
Yeah,
I guess they're really aiming for the graphic novel market, so that can done. Like the main stars get their ongoing series still, although they get, restarted every 3 or 4 years.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, like I miss the days where it'd be like, let's throw Darkhawk at the wall and see how many issues of that we can get out.
Hmm. Or I loved even like you pick up Hulk 300,
Hmm.
and you're like, well, this is great. I want to know what happened before this. And you go and you have 299 issues to go check out now because Hulk 300 grabbed your attention. Where now if Hulk 17 grabs your attention, it's kind of convoluted in terms of how to go back and find things. At least they're putting the legacy numbering on things again, but there's a stretch where it's kind of hard to find the stuff, and figure out where
Yeah.
you should go, like hopping across stones across a pond.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to figure it out for a couple stretches there from like the 90s and early 2000s as to what it was you wanted to read.
Even just using like the Marvel um the comics app there they have where you have
Hmm.
a Marvel Unlimited to be like, oh, I want to read all of like I've been going through and reading all of the Spider-Man 2099 comics.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like even like trying to read all of that and then find where what crossover event like, mixes in the middle of this thing,
Yeah.
and then also I started doing like the Mike Wieringo and Mark Waid Fantastic Four series, and
Hmm.
even getting through that, sometimes there's like other things that coincide with it that it's hard to track down exactly what issue filled in this thing or where that thing happened in this thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a few things I've stumbled on that app too. I love the app and being able to go back and pick up, like Werewolf by Night from the 70s and read all of
yeah,
those.
that's
But
awesome.
it can be hard to know what to jump to, when you're enjoying something and you're like, okay, what's next now? Or why is this part three of something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to parse out all that out at times, I guess.
Well,
But
that's the biggest complaint as a comic fan is when you're reading like, you only buy so many comics, especially how expensive they are nowadays. It's like
mhm.
to be like in the middle of an amazing Spider-Man story, and then all of a sudden it like cuts to Maximum Carnage, not Maximum Carnage, but like whatever version of Carnage they have going on now, Absolute Carnage, I think it was. And
Mhm.
then there's like a sudden a middle issue that fits into something you have no idea what's happening in the other book.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of those ones. But I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of like still romanticize, I guess nostalgic. Suppose it would have to be to go back and like I was at a used comic store one day or an old comic store, and they had I think it was the trade of like Maximum Security from like the early 2000s, that whole
Oh
Marvel
yeah.
storyline. It was
Yeah.
like $5. I'm like, I'll give this a go. Why not? I'm sure it annoyed me at the time that like I had to figure out what was going on in the Spider-Man issue, but at least this one has it all in one spot, so I can finally figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Uh, well, what is coming down the pipeline? I know you're working on the Runaways currently. Is that right?
I just did a fill in for that.
Okay.
So yeah, right now I'm finishing up. It's a book called Malicent Black that my son and we came up with the story together. He scripted it and I pencil ink and color it.
Oh,
And
what? That's awesome.
yeah. So we did a Kickstarter end of 2023 for that. And the second one we'll be doing next month. I'd like to start it in October and have it end on Halloween is what I'm hoping for right now. But I need to get a little bit of head start on the colors here. I hate to launch the Kickstarter without it being close to finished at least.
That's
So
cool.
yeah,
That is so cool. I didn't know that your son and your son and you were working on that.
yeah.
How old's your son?
He's late 20s now.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's amazing. Was he, so I assume he grew up with a love of comics. Was that instilled by you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He grew up in a house just filled with comics and inherited a ton of action figures from me from my childhood and stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
he had no chance.
Is he a writer? Like, is that his regular job?
Yeah. He writes for the Gamer actually.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Wow.
so he'll
Okay.
he'll do like guides on like Metal Gear or whatever he's playing at the moment. How to do this in Metal Gear, whatever. So yeah, he does a few articles a week on that. Um, Sometimes a lot of articles on the week. It depends on the game and in the week.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Wow.
that's his main thing then. So
That's awesome. And well, tell me
yeah,
about Malicent Black. That looks like a cool book.
yeah, it's well, some people would say it's sci-fi, but we would say it's horror. you know,
Excellent, as you
yeah,
should.
yeah, it's very much kind of a Constantine or Doc Strange vibe in space. So she's kind of an occultist that when everything else is going wrong and no one else can help you, you begrudgingly call her. Chances are a lot of people are going to die, but she's got a track record. She's not super popular, but sometimes she's the only person that can help.
Wow.
So yeah, the second book here we're really proud of. I like the story to this one a lot. So I can't wait to. I've been drawing it around the Marvel projects here this year and
Hmm.
around the Flash Gordon thing and whatnot. So yeah, I just finished the inks last week and I'll start the colors this week here and we'll get it out there.
Awesome. And
Uh,
I see you got Gary Frank to do one of your alternate covers.
Yeah, and he's gonna do one for this one too. We just traded emails yesterday, and he's down to do another cover for this.
That's
So,
awesome. Do you
which
have a
is yeah, he's one of the nicest guys in comics, and he's just a phenomenal artist. So
wow?
can't hurt at all.
Did you have a connection to him from beforehand, or is it just you were looking for some?
We went over to a convention in London in 2015 or 2016. I always mix it up.
Mhm.
But we went to a convention there, and Gary was like two tables down from us. and we just hit it off. And we ended up talking a lot of comics and went to dinner and kept up after that. So yeah,
Well,
just one of those things. I knew of his work before that, but I didn't know him at all until the convention. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of his work as well.
yeah, yeah,
I think I came to, I don't know what time when Supreme Power came out, but I came to it right around the perfect time.
yeah.
And yeah, I really wish that series had got a proper ending.
Hmm.
But I guess that's c'est la vie, right? That's got to be one of the that's got to be one of the most frustrating things as a comic fan, especially if you're a
Yeah,
fan of, like, I don't know, Warren Ellis or something. A lot of his books just seem to trail off and never end.
yeah, yeah.
But wow, okay, that's cool. That's really neat. So I'll definitely, the Kickstarter is coming up soon for that.
Yeah, I'd like to launch it very beginning of October here. So,
Awesome. Well,
and
if
then
you,
I'm also working on a book with Chris Ryle. We did a Dread the Halls last year. It was a Christmas horror story.
oh
It was like
wow,
it was like a big anthology, like 50 pages ish, right around there, 48, 60. I don't know. There's a lot of pages in it, like quite a few different stories by different creators. And Chris and I did one story last year, and we're doing another one this year that I've been drawing this week here, and I'll have to, you know, get busy on coloring that pretty soon too here.
wow,
So yeah, we had a lot of fun last year, and we came up with a story this year that I think fits our times and says a lot of things we want to say, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
that's awesome.
yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, I'm excited to check that out as well. Yeah, very cool. I'm a fan of the. I just saw that they're re-releasing Silent Night, Deadly Night in the theaters for like the
Oh,
anniversary or
really?
something. Yeah, the
I
original.
missed it, so that's good to hear. I need to get out and see that. So
It's actually a
yeah,
pretty great movie.
yeah. It seemed like it was right up my alley, but for whatever reason, we could not get out to see it, and then it's been in my watch list forever now. So
Well, there's like
yeah,
7 sequels or 6 sequels, so you can probably skip all those. But
yeah.
I think the first one, I was surprised how actually interesting it was. It's one of the few like old-timey slasher movies I've seen where they actually try to make you feel a little bad for the person. Like, like it's
Mm,
the trauma that's sort of driving him to kill. Beyond just I hate everybody or I hate teens or whatever the hell most people's are reasoning is.
yeah, yeah.
But awesome. Well, very cool. I don't take any more of your time. Just thank you so much for being on the show, Lee. This is
Hey, thanks
fun.
for having me. It was a good time.
Absolutely. And definitely drop me a link when that Kickstarter's out if you think of it, and I'll share it as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll do that.
Perfect. All right. Have a great day.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Bye bye. There you have it, my conversation with Lee Ferguson. We've been on a great run of great guests. Going to keep it up next week. Tune in for another action-packed, fun-filled episode. Not quite sure. Have someone in the hopper. As long as it happens, it'll be great. Not going to tell you just in case it doesn't happen. Just in case. But another great episode coming down the pipeline next week. So be sure to spread the word. Spread our post on social media. Spread a YouTube clip. Just let people know it's out there because I've been doing this for a while. I love it. I'd love to have more people tune in as well. And the only way to do that is to have wonderful folks like you get out there and spread the word. Or I could spend some money in advertising. One or the other. Probably you would be more helpful if possible. I appreciate it. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, read some comics, and explore your local area. Go check out some cool spots you haven't checked out yet. There are a lot of local business owners that appreciate your patronage and would certainly help your local economy, which is very important in these trying times. So do all that, and I'll catch you next week. This program is a proud part of the Swear to Pod Network.